Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 19 of Video Games Ahoy. My name is Jonathan Radford, and today I'm joined by the delicious Dav Gape. How you doing, Dav?
I'm very well, how are you?
Yeah, really good, man. Just me and you today.
Yeah.
Yeah, the boys have scuttled off doing something, like, they're doing work. I mean, who
What
works?
is work?
Yeah, what is work? What is this? But now they're both missing this week, but I'm sure they'll be back next week. Should we talk about stuff we've been up to? Should we talk about... We just put something cool on YouTube.
We did.
We did put something cool on YouTube. So, for those of you that don't know, please check out our YouTube page and our Patreon because we've just started a new video game series called the Video Games Ahoy Hall of Fame. We won't spoil which games or people we inducted, but we were all fairly satisfied with the end result, I'd say. It was a nice mix, nice blend of different people. It was really fun, and it was great because I had a couple of people message me saying they think, direct messages saying, "Oh yeah, I think you should do this." My brother specifically said that we needed to put Football Manager in, and I was just like, "Yeah, okay." It's the only game he plays. Only game he plays, other than Flight Simulator, but he hasn't played that for years. I did tell him that.
If anyone's going to bring Football Manager, it's going to be me.
I did.
The thing is, which one?
I also thought that as well, as a series, it doesn't come in, but which one is, I don't know what the best one was. I played them as a kid, and it was just too overwhelming for me. I just wanted to build stadiums. I want an 80,000 seater stadium, and that's it. That's all I want. But yeah, go and check out that series. It's going to be exclusive to the Patreon with our matey tier, which is £1, I believe. So go over and check it out. And speaking of Patreon, and speaking of my brother, he actually decided to become a VIP crew member because of that episode. Thank you very much, Daniel. And he actually listens to the podcast. He rang me yesterday, said he loves the song, he enjoys the episodes, and he enjoys listening. He just doesn't know what we're talking about for the most part, but he says he looks really, really good. So thank you, brother. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. And to everyone that does give us money on our Patreon, we really, really appreciate it. It really has helped us keep going. We've grown so much, and we want to keep growing. So if you want to support us, then head over to Patreon at Video Games Ahoy. I'm sure you'll find something over there that you might like. You can pay £1, £5, £10, anything you like. And if you don't want to, again, like we always say, it's absolutely fine. We are just grateful for you listening to the show. You can check us out as well on Twitter, on Facebook. If you want to see our faces, we're on YouTube, because we're on there too. And make sure you check us out on Twitch as well, because the Cavalry is finally coming to support Dav online. And it's great as well, because one thing my brother did mention, and one thing I've been thinking about, is we all have such varied taste in games. That
I have a good taste and you all have gutter trash taste.
Gutter trash. Oh, but it is interesting because when you have someone like Dav Weeks, he plays so many not simulator games, but like Command and Conquer games.
Yeah,
like that.
Resource management and 4X genre. Yeah,
there's great stuff like that. So it's really nice that we all have such varied content. So yeah, make sure you check us out. I think from next week, we're all hoping to be streaming throughout the week, which is great. Now, should we start with a bit of news, Dav?
Shall we?
As we always do, we start with a bit of news. And we timed this pretty well because about 3 hours ago, Nintendo dropped a direct. It was a partner showcase direct, but it was a direct. In contrast to last time, there really wasn't much that I was interested in, and by that I mean I don't think there was anything that I was interested in, and it's I think it's probably good we have a chat about this. I'll list off the games they did talk about first. So we had Collection of Saga, Final Fantasy Legend, which a lot of people were really happy about, and I know it's not the direct Final Fantasy series, it's the one on the Game Boys, I believe. But a lot of people were very happy about it, which is great. We had the Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory, but again, it's just, every time I see that, I'm just thinking, why isn't 1.5 and 2.5 coming to the Switch?
Switch, yeah.
We had Just Dance 2021. I mean, it's going to be 2022 and 2023. Big Rumble Boxing Creed Champions, Puyo Puyo Tetris 2. Again, something that people really, really wanted. and Harmonix's Fuser. So
Fuser sounds pretty interesting, but
it did look pretty interesting.
But like what we saw in the direct was like a paltry showing in comparison to what I've heard about the game. Like, it was really disappointing what they showed. I thought, oh, Fuser, okay, we've actually got a game here that's got some buzz around it, and it was just like, oh, I'm using my flame emojis. Oh, golf kiss, and I was like, what is going on? But it's a sad day when the most interesting game of the bunch is a boxing game about Apollo Creed and Rocky Balboa.
Do you know, it was weird because like I saw that and I was like, oh, okay, and then I was like, ooh, it actually it looks like a late era PS2 game. But
like
again,
Ready to Rumble.
Yeah, and then, to be fair, I used to love those games. I used to love the Ready to Rumble series just because it was really fun. It was really arcadey, and it wasn't trying to be anything. It wasn't trying to be the serious series.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. It's one of those things where I don't really mind that Nintendo do these partnerships, because a lot of the time these are timed contractual obligations that they need to do with developers and producers, because basically, as we all know, COVID-19 it's screwed everything. Everything is all over the place. Nintendo in particular seems not to have dealt with it well, and that's not a criticism on their behalf. That's just that's how it is. That
it hits some companies harder than others.
I think it's absolutely hit Nintendo way more than a lot of other companies. However, I don't know. We're coming up to the run up to Christmas, and we still don't know what Nintendo are going to bring. We've talked all year, actually, since April. We've been talking about this Nintendo, the Mario's 35th anniversary. We've been talking about the 3D collection and Mario 3D World. It seems to be a thing, but we're in September in 5 days, and we've still not heard anything about what they're actually bringing, other than Pikmin 3, which is a port. And I don't know. I do worry about Nintendo a little bit. Not that I think their sales are going to stop, because they're still going to sell hardware, but a lot of people have money to spend around Christmas, and they're going to go, well, if Nintendo's not offering me anything, I'd rather spend 50 quid on something else, on maybe like a PS5 game. It's like, I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I just feel like it's impossible to predict what's going on in Nintendo at the best of times, and now we're in such crazy times. It seems like what is the most likely case is that these Mario games that were supposed to be out for the 35th anniversary probably delayed into next year.
Yeah.
And it's just impossible to announce that, really.
Yep.
Like, how do you put a positive spin on that? Through a direct. It's probably got to be a blog post, or an interview where they say, oh, this is getting moved. And then it's like lowball that expectation so that everyone's like, oh, these games do exist. But then also that's not how Nintendo announce things.
No, they don't.
Sony and like PlayStation, and like how Phil Spencer does it with Xbox, they're happy to like drop little droplets of nuggets of information like in interviews or in a Twitter post. But Nintendo like to go big, and I think they can't in this situation if what I suspect is happening, which is that a lot of their games that were supposed to come out this year or early next year are being delayed indefinitely.
It does. So I've been reading a lot about this, and what seems to have there's obviously no confirmation, but what seems to have happened, obviously, with COVID-19, Pikmin 3 was supposed to be in April.
Right.
So obviously, straight away, they've had to move that to October. So that means something from October has been moved. We know, we're saying that, was Pokemon Snap, was it for this year, or did it give a date? I can't remember if it gave a date.
I'll have a look.
Let's just assume that it's, even if we just assume that it is, I don't know if Pokemon Snap and Pikmin 3 Deluxe are enough to push, hardware sales for Nintendo are going to be crazy this year anyway, because it is the most sought after console currently on the market. It is. I mean, I was looking earlier at the year-on-year comparisons with like PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, Xbox One X, and it's like, Nintendo, the Switch is selling like almost like 8 million more at this point compared to like the Xbox, for instance, is tracking the same level as PS4.
Yeah, there are two consoles coming this holiday season, and I think of all the winters for Nintendo to take a year off, this might be the one where it's okay.
True,
because there aren't any like blockbuster games coming to either at launch. Like Halo Infinite's been delayed, means that of course Xbox has got some great exclusive games coming out in the launch window, but nothing on that Halo Infinite level. Like they haven't got a Breath of the Wild 2.
No,
and PlayStation, they've got Spider-Man Miles Morales, but that's not been confirmed for the launch day yet.
Nope.
And again, it's not to badmouth it, because one, I haven't played it, but it's more of an Uncharted Lost Legacy kind of a game than it is to a full-fledged one. And so I guess Sony don't really have that blockbuster launch game either. So for Nintendo to not have one, it's like, okay, well, this would have been a great year to capitalize, I think, but it's, of all the years, it's maybe not the worst.
Yeah, if they're gonna lose, if it's gonna be almost a level playing field at the end of, it's probably the best year to do it, rather than a year when they need something to fight with PS5 and the Xbox Series X.
And the Xbox and the PS4, Xbox Series X and the PS5 are going to sell out like hotcakes instantly.
Of course, yeah.
And so hopefully Nintendo are able to get enough production of the Switch going where they can be there to pick up the scraps for those kids who want a used console at Christmas, and they can't have one of those two. And
it's crazy as well, because, I mean, if you think about it, like, what have we actually had from Nintendo this year? We had Paper Mario, fair enough. That, I mean, like, you really enjoyed that game, which is great. Animal Crossing was supposed to be a 2020 game. It got pushed into... a 2019 game. It got pushed into 2020. So if we actually think about Animal Crossing was supposed to be last year as well, if we take what we actually had this year, it's like new content. It's realistically Paper Mario, the only one that was supposed to be coming out in 2020. It just... It's a real shame, because I think the problem is, like you've rightly said it as well, like the thing is with Nintendo, expectations are always super high because people love directs. We love directs. Like we've said all along, like we're all waiting for a direct to stream because there's so much fun. You always get that one more thing, and it's usually 9 times out of 10 like awesome.
And today's one more thing was, here's a list of games coming, and it's like, no, because they literally were like, and our last thing is a list of games coming soon. It's like Minecraft Dungeons DLC, and it's like, no. Last time it was Shin Megami Tensei 5. This time it's a bunch of games that we already know about. It's like, what are you doing?
Well, that's the thing as well, because when last time when I saw that last time, Shin Megami Tensei 5, I was like, wow, that is something we've been waiting for a long time, and that's
since
a
before
really,
the launch.
That's a really big thing to end with, and the fact that like when I saw that, I had the exact same reaction as you. I was like, oh, is that it? Like, that is it. I mean, again, at the same time, if someone enjoyed that direct that just went out, more power to you. Absolutely, that's great.
Yeah, let us know why.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? If there is anything in there, someone's going to say it's the Rocky game. It just, and that's amazing. But like, it just, from my perspective, it just feels like it's not so much that I have an issue with it being dropped, because again, like I said, I imagine a lot of it's down to contractual obligations that they needed to do. I think a lot of it's down to what is Nintendo doing for the rest of the year. I don't know, because for me, again, Nintendo, the Switch is selling out in Japan. There's a lottery system at the moment where you have to register for a lottery to even get the chance to buy the Switch, because they go out of stock so quickly. So it's still selling incredibly well, and I don't know. It just feels like so much has happened. We completely understand that, but even if they just, I know they said at the start as well, didn't they, that COVID-19 has affected everything, but it just feels like people are starting to lose their minds, and I think maybe there just needs to be something from Nintendo saying, right.
I guess the issue is, with Nintendo, we always hear whispers about games, and sometimes they don't happen. Look at the Star Fox Diddy Kong Racing style game. Ooh. Never happened, right?
Have you heard about news about that today?
I haven't.
Oh, right. Okay, I don't know how true this is. It was on Twitter this morning. Some people saying it's true, some people saying it wasn't true. Apparently, this is I haven't had a chance to verify, but this is what I saw on Twitter earlier, and a lot of people were talking about it. There is people who believe that was used as a way for Nintendo to find out who was leaking products by Nintendo. So
I can definitely see that as a possibility, but it's just too good of an idea to use. Like, why would you put that out in the ethos? If you know you're looking for a leaker, why would you give them something that's so cool and that everyone wants?
Everyone would want that, yeah.
But that kind of furthers my point in a way. We find out a lot about these games sort of through leaks, because Nintendo is such a loved company that people really want to just destroy them and find out everything because they're so rampant and want. So these Mario 35th anniversary games haven't been announced. As far as Nintendo are aware, or they're probably aware they've been leaked, but as far as Nintendo are coming across, they haven't announced it, so they don't exist until they announce them.
Yeah.
So for them, I guess they feel they don't need to come out and say, well, these games are delayed, because they haven't even announced they exist yet.
Yeah, true.
And so that's kind of on us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's for us for getting carried away. And like, the thing is with all this the 3D Mario collection, I know for myself, I am desperate to play those games again. So for me, I'm desperately hoping they're true. I think for me, I don't mind. Like, I don't mind so much about the 3D collection not being real. I think it's more with Nintendo just going, we don't know if we're going to be able to. I mean, they wouldn't do that because it's a business, but at the same time, it's just worrying. I think from their perspective, we love Nintendo. It's something that we talk about every single week because we love Nintendo. The company I started playing video games with. But yeah, there's a part of me that just hopes that something gets announced soon so that people can just calm the hell down. That's I think that's all that needs to happen.
That's the thing. The longer it waits, the bigger this Direct needs to be.
Yeah.
Like, they better show Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah, and especially...
That's all they need. That's all they need. Breath of the Wild 2 or Metroid Prime 4, and people won't care. Won't care what else is in it. If they show one of those two, then it'll be worth the wait.
Yeah, and it's true. Like, even you're right as well. You make a really good point about like us getting carried away because again, like Bloomberg released yesterday that they are fairly certain that there's going to be a Switch Pro coming out next year.
Yeah.
Now, again, I don't know. It's one of those things where like I don't know how much it does it help. Does it give you hope, or does it make like if it doesn't come true, it just annoys people as well? That's the thing.
Yeah, but they've said that they reckon that this Switch Pro or Super Nintendo Switch is something they're really pushing and are waiting to reveal some games.
Yeah.
And they're going to be like, look, this is going to be launching. Like, if they launch that new Switch with Metroid Prime 4, the Mario 3D Collection, and Breath of the Wild 2, how can you compete?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, next holiday season, obviously.
I think one thing I read about it, and one thing was this because there's a few podcasts that I listened to about this specifically in the topic, and one thing a lot of the guys were saying they're really high tech guys who know what they're talking about when it comes to technology and stuff. I don't, but basically what they were saying is the one thing that has been mentioned a few times by a number of different people is the ability to basically stream from the Switch to the to a dock without having to actually dock it, which would mean that you'd be able to play games like you basically become a Wii,
yeah, a Wii U,
a Wii U, sorry, without having to dock it, sort of thing. Which that would be a great step. And to be honest, even if that doesn't come in this Switch Pro, that's got to be something they're working on for the next Switch model because that's something we do now. Like how easy is it to just go on your phone, stream this to my TV, and it's done. Yeah,
Nintendo needs to sort out their internet infrastructure, but
yes, that would be. Yeah,
I guess at least if it was just going from Switch to dock, that would just be your personal internet, and it wouldn't have to deal with theirs. So that would be very good if they did that. I would be tempted to upgrade.
Me too. Oh, absolutely. If that was a thing, I'd be like, when can I upgrade? When can I buy it? Because the thing is as well, it just means that when you go to a friend's house as well, and you want to play on your Switch instead of theirs, or you don't have to take the dock, or who knows? It's a number of possibilities. But
we'll finally have the situation where one person's got it on the screen and one person's got it on the TV.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is what we had for the Wii U, which is a good system and allowed for some really interesting asymmetrical multiplayer.
Yeah.
Like in Mario Party, where one person was Bowser, and the other people would be. That's there's some really interesting ideas that they could pull out of their arse because Nintendo loves to come up with weird things.
Well, it's Mario Maker. That's how, like, for a lot of people, Mario Maker 1 was better than 2, only because making because again, I don't have the game, but making it on the TV is just a pain. It's not hard, but it's just a pain.
That's the thing. I bought the special edition that came with some graph paper, but also the stylus.
Right, the stylus, yeah.
So when I could have it handheld, and it was like doing Mario Maker 1.
But I think the one thing that we should probably say, if there is going to be a Switch Pro, because one thing people straight away people jumped on this and saying, is it going to be 4K? And I'm like,
no,
don't even expect that. Like that is something you like. It's Nintendo could be looking into it, but the chances of it actually happening are very, very slim.
Yeah, like at this moment, hope for 1080p.
Yeah, exactly, and
so few Switch games are 1080p.
Exactly. I mean, like I said, one of my favorite games is The Witcher, but that definitely doesn't run 1080p.
Is that even 900?
I don't know. I don't think it's 900. I think Ooh.
720, maybe even 540.
Yeah,
maybe even 480.
It's definitely a low number. I know that. Because it's weird. Because when I used to play it on the TV, it obviously looked way worse than when I would play it on my. Playing a handheld, like I said, that's how I played.
Because everything's so small anyway.
Yeah, I played. Honestly, playing that on handheld was a joy because I had all the sound design was still amazing and it still looked fine. But yeah, should we move on from Nintendo? Because I think we could. I think we could spend probably an hour talking about this. We're going to talk a little bit actually about the Epic Games versus Apple. It's going on. It's
more.
continuing.
Go on, please.
So basically, U.S. court has partly granted Epic's request for a temporary restraining order against Apple. Yvonne Gonzalez Rogers, the U.S. District Court judge for the Northern District of California, ruled on Monday that Apple was now restrained from blocking Epic's developer accounts and thus its ability to update its Unreal Engine tech on iOS and Mac. However, the judge did not grant Epic's request to reinstate Fortnite at the App Store during its legal battle with the iOS firm. I think what essentially that is coming down to is, and there's something actually that Microsoft spoke about as well, because we'll talk about Microsoft in a little bit, because they had something to say about this, is that if you're basically, it's almost infringing the rights of not so much Epic Games, it's the people playing those games. And
the people developing them.
Exactly, and it's not their fault, and I get that they'll just say, right, you can't put Fortnite on the app, but you can't stop them from fixing these games because people have bought those games, and unless refunds are given to all these people, which is not going to happen, you have to let Epic do it.
And if someone is 4 years into developing a game on the Unreal Engine, using MacBooks,
exactly,
and then they turn around and go, oh no, actually we're not supporting that software anymore. That's 4 years. And 4 years or a brand new laptop. Like, what are you going to waste? Exactly. So, it was borderline illegal. The App Store stuff is very much grey area, but I think they were right in the I mean, who am I? But I think they were right in the decision to rule to keep all the rest outside of the App Store.
Yes.
To stop Apple from stopping that.
Yeah.
Because that was them basically saying, okay, well, we're not going to play nice with you at all, which is like kind of childish. And so we'll see how the App Store goes. But it was quite interesting to see Microsoft pitch in.
Well, I was just about to say, so I'll come on to Microsoft, what Microsoft has said. So Microsoft have now got involved after Apple said it would pull Epic's access to developer tools on iOS and Mac. So that was just before. But this is a statement they released with regards to that. They said that denying access to Unreal would damage a critical technology for many third-party game creators. Xbox head Phil Spencer tweeted, ensuring that Epic has access to the latest Apple technology is the right thing for game developers and gamers. Microsoft said beyond that denying Epic access to Apple's developer tools would prevent Epic from supporting Unreal Engine on iOS and macOS, and will place Unreal Engine and those game creators that have built, are building, and may build games on it at a substantial disadvantage. And it will harm game creators and gamers. Now, do you know what? I actually love Phil Spencer. I really, really do.
How can you not?
I mean, I don't have an Xbox, but everything he said, like,
you've got Game Pass. That's all he wants.
Well, yeah, I got Game Pass.
Doesn't want you to have an Xbox. He really doesn't want. He doesn't want anyone to buy an Xbox Series X. Apparently,
I've got my Game Pass, and like, I don't know. It's just the things he comes out with. Like last week, he was gushing with praise about Nintendo. Last week, he was just saying like how they are the masters of creating games. I'm paraphrasing here, but basically along the lines of the masters creating games, and we need to make sure we protect that, protect Nintendo. Protect Nintendo. This guy works for one of its rivals, and he's saying that. You don't hear anyone else saying that. You wouldn't hear anyone else saying that.
Good guy, Phil.
Yeah, but like when you hear stuff like this, it's like you can hear that. Yeah, okay, Microsoft have. There's a battle for them to be fought here because Microsoft themselves have had issues with Apple. However, they're not even talking from that perspective. They're talking about the people who have been, again, designing games, building games, working and buying these games. And Apple are the issue is they're going against Epic, but they're also going against people that buy these products. And like
Apple just don't give a shit, do they?
Well, this is what I said last week, man. I honestly, if the problem Apple have is that if they create a generation of kids like who mainly play Fortnite 10 to 15, if they create a generation of kids that hate Apple, I mean, you're going to want them to buy stuff from you in like 10 years' time. It just seems absolutely crazy.
Probably when they're 10, to be honest.
Yeah. God, when did you have your first mobile, by the way? Just completely off topic.
Ooh, maybe 11?
I must have been about 13, maybe about 13, 14. Because I had the N gauge.
Whoa!
Oh man, I was so chuffed with that because I knew it played games. That's the only reason I had it.
Did you have Tomb Raider on it? That's all I remember was on there. Tomb Raider and Tetris. Of course, Tetris was on it.
Yeah, I mean, Tetris is on everything, but like, no, I can't remember. I actually can't remember. I just remember like having it in like the last year of school, and just all my friends being like, "Whoa, this is the best thing ever."
So maybe it was earlier than 11 when I got my phone, but I had it was like a Nokia, but it wasn't your 3210. It was the longer one with a little bit of an aerial coming out.
Right.
It still had Snake on it, but it had like removable phone covers, and mine was a bright yellow Tweety Pie one. And my voicemail message was me rapping.
I mean, I'm expecting it to be still you rapping because that sounds amazing.
Yes, my rap these days is a woman saying "Welcome to Gift Gaff Mailbox," but
I mean, it's pretty good.
It's a choice.
It's a choice. It actually kind of continues for a little bit because then Apple start having a go at Tim Sweeney as well.
Yeah.
So they actually accused
CEO of Epic.
CEO of Epic, yeah. So they actually accused the. So I've got some more stuff to talk about. Apple accused the Unreal Engine firm of attempting to cheat its App Store agreement in pursuit of its own special deal. Tim Sweeney responded to that by basically saying, Apple's statement is misleading. You can read my email on Apple's filing, which is publicly available. I specifically said in Epic's request to the Apple execs, we hope that Apple will make these options equally available to all iOS developers. Now, we said last week, or at least I said last week, at the end of the day, this is $2 billion, trillion dollar companies fighting it out. But it does seem more and more that Apple are
the bad guys.
If there's going to be a binary choice of good and bad, then Apple are really painting themselves to be the massively bad here. Just everything they've done so far.
I don't know how they're so bad at this.
Yeah.
Like, with a company with so much money, you'd think they'd be better at something like this. You'd think they'd be able to spin anything. Yeah, I guess. Maybe they've become complacent. And they've never expected a company to do this. Yeah. Because this is quite unprecedented, especially in the modern era.
Yeah.
Especially in like tech and gaming. And I think what's interesting is Apple's... Okay, so in theory, right, legally, if it's Apple's thing, they can do whatever they want. Yep. They can say yes or no to do... In the same way that Twitter can kick Katie Hopkins off, because Twitter is its own thing, Apple can say, right, no more Unreal stuff.
Yeah.
But it's become a point where Apple is too big and is so intrinsic to so many people's ways of life. They've created a rod for their own back by becoming so necessary in some people's lives with like making sure you're on the cloud, your iPad, your MacBook, your phone, all the rest of it, your watch, your earphones, all of it. And they want you to be trapped in this system. But now for people who are trapped in this system, they need more access to more. Yeah. And Apple are too big for themselves now, and they have to allow for those things. Yeah. Even if they don't want to. Yeah. Now, did Epic go about it the right way? I don't know, but it got the conversation going.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, really. When people it's when you have one massive company pretty much controlling everything, which is essentially what Epic Games are accusing Apple of. I mean, it doesn't. This is the problem. Like, they start pulling things like the people saying last week that they believe, like, developers are basically accusing Apple of being essentially being the mafia in the way they deal with the 30% charge they take. It's like, it does seem like Apple have been shaken up a little bit because I don't think they've been this rattled by a company before. I don't think you're totally right. I don't think a company's ever really taken them on. Like, there's been companies that have taken them on from an outside perspective. Yeah. Like, they'll battle with Samsung about phones and stuff, but like, actually, and it's an internal struggle that Apple are really going to screw over a lot of the people that use their stuff. And
they've already tried to. So, and it's only because the Supreme Court that they're not allowed to. So, well, who's rooting for Apple right now? Things like this get decided on Twitter, not in the court.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because both these companies rely on people and consumers to buy and pay for their products and their services.
Absolutely.
I mean, and I would trust a 12-year-old Fortnite player to have a lot more of a vocal presence on Twitter than a 48-year-old grandmother using an iPad to talk to her grandkids on FaceTime. So,
and again, if they're thinking of the long game, that kid is definitely going to spend more money on Apple over the course of his life because or would spend more money over the course of his life if
Yeah.
he is if his product is Apple, because not just the fact he's a kid, but younger people in general are more used to buying things from all over the place. They'll, oh look, there's a watch, I'll buy that. Whereas like my parents have a phone, that's it. It's like we're more in tune to buying more products.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems crazy, man. But we're gonna have to keep an eye on this because it's weirdly entertaining. Like reading it, because I'm just like I don't play Fortnite and I don't have Apple products. So
no, same.
But yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. So final bit of news. And this it's not really this is actual just statistical news. Gamescom. It's going to be happening over the next 3 nights, starting tomorrow, 7 p.m. UK
Thursday.
time. Yeah, so Thursday. Yes,
it'll already have happened.
Yes. So by the time you actually listen to the podcast, it would have already happened. But I believe there's one on. So it's Thursday night, Friday night, and on Saturday night there's the Indie Showcase as well. So if you're listening to this, tune in for the Indie Showcase and make sure you check back and see what's happening. I think there's going to be tomorrow night. So on Thursday there's going to be focus. It's going to be focusing on updates for titles that have already been released. So like Doom Eternal's campaign DLC, Black Ops, Cold War, Destiny 2 Beyond Light, and then stuff to do with Fall Guys as well. So
the Black Ops Cold War reveal is happening right now.
Oh, there we are.
In the lobby of Warzone, but they haven't increased server capacity, so everyone's trying to log on at the same time, and there's massive server queues.
Oh god, isn't that was an issue with Fall Guys as well, wasn't it? It's a huge thing.
Yeah, but Fall Guys is made by a team of 30 people.
Yeah, tiny company.
Like a British company called Mediatonic, whose last couple of games have been Hatoful Boyfriend, where it's like a pigeon dating sim.
That's amazing.
And, Bejeweled, they're known for doing as well. So, I mean, maybe it's not 30, maybe it is 280 to be fair. But, it is an indie studio, and they haven't got the resources of Activision. And Activision just can't manage it.
It's just ridiculous.
It's like how, Fortnite just came out of nowhere, blew them out of the water, and now they're just trying to crawl back.
Yeah, it does feel like on times that, a lot of those old companies, they're so used to dominating in so many ways, they just don't, when something like this happens, they don't know how to respond, because, Fortnite in particular, we've seen with Epic Games, I don't know, they just always seem to be one step ahead, whereas a lot of those Activision companies are headed by guys in their 50s and 60s, or old practices, and just think we're going to dominate. And it's just it just feels like all these old companies just don't know how to react to new ideas and new thought processes. And it's just it's really interesting. But like I said, with regards to Gamescom, make sure you check some stuff out, because apparently there's going to be some cool releases, more likely on Friday night. That's when they're talking about games that are that haven't been released or spoken about yet. So make sure you check what happens at Gamescom. Happening. Happening. Would have happened, I should say, not tomorrow night. Yeah.
But Thursday night, which is tomorrow, which would have been past, as I've just said multiple times, opening night live is Jeff Keighley's final thing in the Summer of Gaming, or Summer Games Fest. So how do you think this summer went? We had no E3, no everything else. How do you feel it went?
I think we miss E3 maybe more for the convention than the actual games that have been released. I think because I don't know, last year, what did we get from? I can't even remember what we got last year from E3. It does seem like I don't think it's been a good year in general. I mean, there's so many things that have been pushed back. It does feel like we've missed a lot of stuff. And I mean, are we even going to see E3 again? Is Summer Games Fest going to be the thing that Jeff Keighley takes for next year, and then that replaces E3 because it becomes more of a manageable thing over the course of 3 months? I mean,
I think we will see.
PlayStation weren't even going to be there this year, were they? Before COVID-19.
Yeah. And I think E3 as we know it is probably dead.
Yeah.
But I can't see big scale presentations going away.
No.
Maybe they go digital, like in more Nintendo Direct state of play style. But I can't see all of them going away, especially when it's just a chance for everyone's eyeballs to be on them.
Yeah, sure.
So we'll see. But
it is
well
weird,
done,
though.
Jeff. Thank you for collaborating everything.
Yeah, he's been great.
My mate Jeff.
Yeah, and to be fair as well, he has done some cool releases this year as well. So I do like Jeff Keighley, and I'm actually a big fan of the Game Awards. I know a lot of people don't like the Game Awards, but I do like the fact that it does celebrate a lot of good things in gaming. And I just think I guess that he's trying to legitimize gaming in a way that, it's like the video game Oscars and what have you. I don't know, a lot of people don't buy into it, but I don't know. He seems like a pretty cool guy, so
yeah.
I've been really happy with everything he's done. I just think that this year in particular, it just feels like there hasn't been huge releases, but maybe that's just because everything's been digital, so it just feels like there's been way more leaks this year from all the companies, really. I mean,
any guy who can get Sean Layden from PlayStation, Reggie Fils-Aimé from Nintendo of America, and Phil Spencer on the same stage, all talking in the same speech.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a guy who loves the gaming industry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. God, yeah. But I think that's it with the news. Dab, do you want to tell us about a game you've been playing?
Yeah, so I've got two, but I'm not going to talk about them too long.
Cool.
One that I haven't finished yet is Battletoads.
Right. How has that been? It's been alright.
So it came out last week. I've played the first 2 hours, I think.
Yeah.
The first level really worried me.
Okay.
Really worried me. It was very slow. The delivery of the lines and the jokes was bad. Poor. Really poor. It was that kind of sort of all the characters. It was sort of beat 'em up Streets of Rage style, and all the characters are stood still, and they've all got voice lines. But like one of them will say a line, and there'll be a moment, and then the other person's text will pop up.
Oh no!
And then they'll say their line, and it's just like, this is like comedies about timing.
Yeah.
And they just absolutely flatlined it. So I was playing through that first level, like worried, but then after that, the cutscenes were like children's Saturday morning TV animation, and it was so good.
That does sound great.
It was so good, and like loads of like different ideas thrown together. Like they had something called like Toad Shambo, which is where they have to like rock paper scissors to decide like what they're going to do next.
Yeah.
And some jokes based around that, and you see some familiar characters from the original game coming back. And yeah, maybe it's not the best game, but I think it's so worth a play. And you've just got to grin and bear that first level, because it is poor. It is like the pace is bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a cool game, cool little game. I'm looking forward to playing more of it.
It's on Game Pass, right?
It is on Game Pass. That's why I played it. And the other game that I've been playing, well, I say playing. I started it this morning and finished it this morning. It was less than 2 hours, and it's a little game that was announced in Indie World, Nintendo's Indie World Direct thing last week, called Takeshi and Hiroshi.
Okay, how was it?
So that's the claymation one about the 14-year-old game designer and his little brother, and it was really sweet. The puppeteering is beautiful. It's really well done, really charming. You know me, I love a charming game.
The claymation did look amazing. Well, in fact, when we were doing this stream, that game stopped us, and we were a little bit disappointed when it came to the combat and the gameplay, and it wasn't still claymation. Not so much that it wasn't claymation, but it wasn't in that style. I was like, if they could have kept that, like maybe in the same style as like Link's Awakening, not, you know what I mean? It's
I get you. I totally get you.
Just keeping that vibe.
And I can understand why they didn't, because it's very much, he gives his brother an iPad or a tablet, and he boots up the game, and then the game is the game.
Right, okay. That makes more sense.
And then the way the gameplay is structured is, there's only 7 chapters, and every chapter is very short. One of them doesn't even have any gameplay, it's just a cutscene.
Yeah.
And you start off, and you're like the 14-year-old big bro, Takeshi, sorry. And you're like, yo, Hiroshi, look at this game I've made. I'm so smart because I've made a whole game. Little does he know, it's only the first couple of frames of it and the title screen. And the kid's like, oh yeah, I want to play it now. And Takeshi's like, oh. So then he's like, right, okay, so I haven't built the game, but I've told him I have. Don't want to break his heart. So I'm going to control the game from my side of things.
Yeah. And
like choose which enemies and stuff he fights, like make him more interested. And like sort of you have to fill up his joy meter by increasing peril in like, the more difficult each battle is, the more he enjoys it. And so, like, then you bank those joy points, and you've got, like, 5 rounds per chapter to, like, get him up to a certain amount of joy. There is a bit of sort of random number generator stuff about the combat, and that can kill the vibe a bit, because it'll be like, there was no way I could have possibly got to the top score.
Yeah.
Or especially with the boss. There's only one boss in the game, and it's right at the end, obviously. And that took a number of times, only because I had to be lucky with which moves the boss decided to do.
Yeah.
It had 3 moves. It had shoot a fireball, it had bite me, or it had create a little skeleton warrior next to it.
Yeah.
And then you have 3 choices of things to do in return. You can heal, but you don't heal for as much as the fire attack does. So if he does like 3 fire attacks in a row, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
Even if you're healing constantly, if he just keeps batting you with fire attacks. And before the boss fight, there's like 1 of 3 choices that you can have for the boss to say. And I don't know if that's related to the frequency of which type of moves he does.
Yeah.
But I found that when I chose the 3rd of the 3 options, he stopped doing the fireball until like right near the end of the fight, which gave me enough time to beat him. Otherwise, I would have been there all day.
Yeah.
Just on that randomness and just waiting for him to stop doing so many fireballs.
Jeez.
So yeah, the gameplay really didn't hold up. And it's a game that was originally released on Apple Arcade about 6 or 7 months ago. And there's a few spelling mistakes. And when it's a text-based game anyway...
Oh, no.
like a wrong apostrophe here. And like I say, there's like 4 spelling mistakes in about, an hour and a half of game. So, that's 1 every 20 minutes, basically. Yeah. And you kind of like if it was a 100-hour game and there's 4 spelling mistakes, I'd be like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But especially when the game's already been out for 6 months, they must have had feedback.
Well, they must have had feedback. If it's been out 6 months, how do they not?
Yeah. So I mean, I haven't played the version on Apple. I wonder if it is any different. But it feels like it isn't.
Could be more spelling mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. But also the game's originally Japanese, but if you're going to make it in English, don't make it in English,
Yeah.
Then translate it correctly. But overall, translation was really good. Yeah, and I loved the characters in it. Felt a nice attachment to all of them. And they went on a little, sort of a micro journey. Like, there was no, the world isn't going to explode and no one's going to die.
Yeah.
But it was just really nice characters in, sort of a day-to-day high school setting.
Yeah.
And it was really nice. I just really want to emphasize how beautiful it looks.
Again, man, I just want to... I'm the same. Like, when we saw it on the stream, we were like, wow, it looks so nice. It looks great. It's a shame, really, that it didn't hold up as well as it looks. That is a shame. That's a real shame.
But I'd say it's the right length for how average the gameplay is. It finished and I went, okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Any
more and I would have been annoyed, but
Yeah.
that was the right amount. And it was only £7.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it, even if it's not the greatest game,
That's
just to experience it.
Yeah. And that's totally right as well. I imagine if it was an extra 2 hours, it'd have been it would have gone from maybe a 7 to a 4. I
wouldn't have finished it if it was twice as long. Probably wouldn't have finished it.
That's actually really good, and maybe that has it in its favor. It's people just get that's enough. That's enough.
Yeah.
No more.
That was an interesting morning. Now to get on with my day.
Just completely forget about it. But yeah,
what have you been playing?
So we had a conversation recently. We obviously we talk online about loads of games, and one game that has come up quite a lot recently is basically, again, I said this the other day, I've been watching the High Score, the series on Netflix. And one episode featured a game, which, again, I've spoken about quite recently, and that's Super Mario Brothers. So the thing with Super Mario Brothers is that I didn't realize for so long that in my head, I was always getting confused. I knew there were 2 separate games, but I was getting levels confused in my head about which version they were in between Super Mario Brothers and Super Mario Land on the Game Boy.
Yes.
And when I completed it. I spent 5 or 6 hours yesterday just playing through the game, completing it, really taking my time. And it was great. It was really, really, really great. And it was weird because I was because I haven't played that game in such a long time, and I haven't played Super Mario Land in even longer, since I had my Game Boy, which must be about 20 years. My brain must have just been putting together levels, and when I was playing through it, I was going, where's that level? Where's this level? And I'm hearing music that is just not in the original Super Mario Brothers because it's from Super Mario Land. Saying that, that's just my brain playing up. It's still a really fun game, and it's weird because there are other games that I if I went back and played games on my Mega Drive, I imagine there's quite a load that I could go back and play, and they wouldn't one, feel as nice, or two, even look as nice. It is so bizarre how a game that is that old is still relatively fun to play. and it was weird because I got to World 304, and I was like, oh man, I want to keep playing this. Like normally I get like with games that are that old, sometimes I do get a bit bored because there's a lot of repetition in those old games, because there has to be, because you didn't have the opportunity to actually make games that were that massively varied. But it's still really charming, and it's still really, really fun. And I don't know, I was glad I completed it. I can't imagine I'll go back to it for, again, another 10 years, because I've done it, and I'd rather play some of the newer ones, like Super Mario World. I'd rather play. That game is beautiful.
Well, I'm playing through Super Mario 3D Land at the moment.
Oh, you did say.
I'm about halfway through, I think. I've done 4 worlds out of 8.
Yeah. How does it feel with because it's not quite the free roaming Super Mario Odyssey, and it's not quite it's not 2D. How does it work? Because it's 16 directions or 8 directions you can move in. How does it feel?
Feels very free. So yeah, probably 16.
Probably 16. Because I know 3D World only has 8 directions, and a lot of people got really annoyed by that, because it felt like they're being like but yeah.
I don't feel restricted, but I don't think it's 8.
It's the same with Link's Awakening, that had 8.
Yeah, but the levels are very short, and so it kind of feels like a harken back to like Mario Bros 3. Like really? It's like, we have an idea for a level, bang, there it is, there you go, you never see it again.
Yeah,
that was your level.
That's great.
So it's got that to it. But I'll give my full verdict when I finish it eventually.
Awesome. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I've not really been playing. I mean, I've been playing. I actually played Red Dead Redemption 2 for a little bit recently, because yeah, I just wanted to try it out. It's been 2 years since I played that game, and so when I played Red Dead Redemption 2, I want to talk about it some other time. I'll just briefly mention why I wanted to dip into it rather than actually talk about the game. But I played it just before I went on tour, and I kind of felt like I rushed the last like two chapters, because I was like, it was like it was like a Monday that I was playing it, and then the Tuesday after, so like a week, like 8 days later, I was leaving to go to Germany, and I was just like, I just feel like I didn't really explore it as much. Yeah. So I went back and I just dipped into it and just did a bit more exploring, because I came back obviously from Germany. I was like, okay, well, there's loads of games I got to play, and I just never actually picked it up. And I'll talk about it a bit more. I still think the biggest issues with that game is just, it's still really clunky, and it's so bizarre how clunky it is for such a huge game. Saying that, like, everything else is still amazing. Like the graphics are incredible. Like the voice acting is so good, and the level, the world design is unbelievable. But I'll talk about that in future.
One more little tease.
Yeah, go for it.
There's another game I'm playing. I'm 10 hours in, and right now it's my game of the year.
Oh, great! What is it?
Spiritfarer.
Oh, yeah, you did say we were gonna get that.
Yeah.
Is it good? Well, obviously, Game of the Year good. That's how good it is.
Yeah, but I'll be finishing that. I'm planning to finish it and then probably stream a second playthrough after.
Nice, that's great. That's a really good show.
It's amazing.
That's great. Dav, we'll probably have to leave it there. But thank you so much for joining today. That is the end of podcast number 19. Thank you all for listening today. If you enjoyed the show, then please follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Patreon. Tell your friends, give us a review. It really would mean the world to us. Like I said, hopefully by next week we'll all be streaming, and we'll help Dav in his streaming journey. We'll all be there streaming throughout the week, which will be really great. We should hopefully be back for Multiplayer Monday as well. We missed this week, sadly. Just already super busy. So hopefully we'll be back. I'm also really sorry we haven't got a quiz today, but there's not much I can do because it's just me and Dav, and Dav usually wins anyway. So trying to get Dav to answer all these questions is like, he's already won. But yeah, we'll be back next week with a quiz.
Here's a quiz. Here's a question. One question. What is the name of the first Advance Wars game on Nintendo DS?
I never played. I've never played Advance Wars, so I wouldn't have a clue.
Advance Wars Dual Strike DS.
I heard they're so good. I've heard Advance Wars are great, and because obviously they're made by the same people as Fire Emblem, Intelligent Systems, right? Yeah. So them. But yeah.
Dude, you need to play Advance Wars.
I do. I've heard so many good things. I really, really have. But maybe I'll pick it up sometime in the future. Again, Me and Dav said this before. I'm going to finish the podcast, but I just want to finish by saying, please, Nintendo, bring the Virtual Console so I can play all these games on the DS and all these other systems that we didn't get a chance to play before. On that bombshell, that is the end of podcast number 19. This is Video Games Ahoy, and we'll see you real soon. Ahoy!
See ya.